Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about shot blocking today. Now, I know I've talked about this on the channel before, so I looked. As far as videos with shot blocking in the title, January 8th of 2018, I did a video talking about shot blocking and talked at the time about how it felt like there were way too many shots being blocked. And what I meant by that was they're blocking shots that aren't going to the net anyways. Now, the reason this is a good topic of conversation right now is because here we are. The last game of the year could be getting played tonight between Tampa Bay and Colorado, and shot blocks have been heroic for Tampa. And I'm not saying they're not. Any guy who's willing to block a shot at 80, 90 miles per hour, it truly, it's heroism, because I'm going to step out of the way and go ahead, because the goaltender has all the padding that I don't. So, and that's something that's been discussed many times over, it feels, in hockey circles over, I'll say, the last decade. Shot blocking used to be a niche thing that a few teams did. Now everybody does it. And teams that don't shot block, it gets talked about like, oh, this team doesn't block shots. And like, that's a bad thing. Even though when we look at shot suppression, it's not there. So one article I read on it, it was an old article too, but it still works now, stated that shot blocks are up, but so are shots on net, meaning that guys are missing the net less often. For whichever player you're thinking of right now who misses the net a lot, he is now an outlier rather than the standard. So shots on goal per game. 2003-2004, there were 56 shots per game. The season that we just had, the regular season we just had, 62.8 was the total. Now, when you look at a team that has a lot of blocked shots, on some level what I think is, okay, are they allowing a lot more offensive opportunities? Because the all-time shot block leader, Chris Russell, opinions on him have changed a lot over the years. Because I remember a time where 2014, 2015, playing with the Flames, he blocked 283 shots. The narrative back then was, well, he has to block all those shots because he's out of position, he makes mistakes, so he's got to cover up, and so he's shot blocking to cover up for his own mistakes. Now we just look and say, here's the all-time leader in shot blocks. He has, in terms of in a season, the most being 2014, 2015, but he also has seasons that are 14th, 16th, and 19th on the all-time list. And again, he is an all-time shot block leader in the NHL. A stat that they didn't track back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, but nobody blocked shots like this. You go back and watch games from the 90s. Nobody was blocking shots like this. And so it's really grown. So I wanted to look at it too from 2015 through until now. And I wanted to use the playoffs. I wanted to use the playoffs because we're going to see more shot blocks in the playoffs than we're going to see during the regular season. So while shots on net have gone up regular season, shot blocks have gone up. An interesting side of it too is save percentage has dropped somewhat in the NHL. So save percentages in the NHL back in 2003, 2004, again, the last year before really the new era of hockey was born, 911 save percentage for goaltenders. The year after the offensive numbers start really going up, they open up the game. 901 was the save percentage in 2005, 2006. This year it was 907, which is down. So save percentages are down a little bit from where they were years ago. Part of that is that I think there's more high danger opportunities. I think there's more teams trying to score now. So some of the goaltending numbers that we saw in the late 90s, early 2000s, likely the result of just defenses not allowing shots at all. Now we've got a game that's far more wide open. And so shot blocks are trying to counter the amount of offense that's been generated in the NHL the last few years. So the reason I'm wearing Nashville is because in the playoffs, Nashville shows up a lot in shot blocks. This year, the number one team in shot blocks in the playoffs, 22.45. Now this is where you point something else out too, right? Nashville leads because Colorado was annihilating them. So the amount of shots that they were allowing is high, so the amount of shots they're blocking is also going to be high. Dallas, 19.99 blocks per game. Los Angeles, 19.94. Now, what stands out there, too, those are three teams that lost in the first round. Three teams that were against pretty good offensive squads, and so they were trying to use those shot blocks to even out the playing field. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning currently have, going into tonight's game, 17.61 block shots per game. Colorado 14.74. The question was asked, I saw in the comment section, what's wrong with Tampa? And I gave a simple answer in the comments of, I really think that the shot blocks have started to wear Tampa down. That just the amount of block shots, and I look at guys like Stamkos, I look at Bogosian, I look at, Chernak got hurt last game, Nick Paul's clearly not 100%. A lot of this is shot blocking. So I think that shot blocks have their place in the game, but I do think it should be somewhat tempered, and yet here we are, right? Now, the fact that Colorado is on the verge of potentially winning the Stanley Cup, and they have less blocked shots per game than Tampa, I thought, all right, so is this a pattern? So 2021, Minnesota leads in shot blocks 19.84. They didn't last that long in the playoffs. Winnipeg 17.94, sweep in the first round, gets swept in the second round. 17.6 for Vegas, who lasted until Montreal took them out in the semifinal, right? Tampa Bay won the Cup. They had 14.22 block shots per game last year. Montreal had 14.71. And that's the interesting thing, is that the team that wins the Stanley Cup in general has less block shots per 60 minutes than the team they're playing against. So Tampa Bay wins in 2020. They had 15.93 block shots per game. Dallas, who they beat, 17.23 shots blocked per game. St. Louis wins the Stanley Cup in 2019, 13.23 block shots per game. Boston, 14.26. That was the Stanley Cup finalist. Then you have 2018, Washington, 16.66 block shots per game. Vegas, 16.07 block shots per 60 minutes. Sorry if I say per game, I mean per 60 minutes. So Washington's the outlier here in terms of to this point. Now, Pittsburgh led as well. 16.99 block shots per game per 60 minutes, 2017. Nashville, 13.84. So Nashville not blocking nearly as many shots per 60 minutes as Pittsburgh. Per 60 is important because there's overtime and it can skew the numbers. 2016, San Jose is actually top 3 with their 19.4 block shots. They lost to Pittsburgh, who was blocking 17.57 per game. 2015, Chicago blocks 14.24 per game. They beat Tampa Bay, who blocked 14.47 per 60 minutes. I'll get there, but you guys know if I say per game that means per 60, right? What do you mean no? All right, so I'm telling you, it's children. Anyways, Nashville, 20.15, led here. Nashville shows up again here with 18.69 in 2017, 19.07 in 2020, and like I said, they lead this year. So Nashville, pretty adept at blocking shots. It is interesting to me that they go to the Stanley Cup final a year that they had only 13.84 block shots per game. But again, block shots would seem to indicate that maybe, and again, this is just debate, maybe for the teams that are blocking a lot of shots, they're probably having more trouble defensively. Like I said, in a lot of cases, the teams that lead in the playoffs are ones that end up losing out in the first or second round. But it just wears players down. I think at some point in time, a coach has to figure this out and go, you know what, we need to block shots smartly. So a lot of the block shots we see are point shots. Well, a lot of those are probably going to be going high or wide anyways, especially if it's a slap shot. Slap shots are just wildly inconsistent and hard to actually aim. That's why wrist shots, snappers, and just different kinds of shots are more common than slappers, because slap shots are tough. So if a guy from the point is firing a slap shot, odds are he's not trying to get the goal. He might be trying to hit the backboards and get that rebound off the boards to somebody else, or he's looking for a rebound, right? Just shoot it at the crowd in front of the net, see where the puck bounces. It's rare that slap shot from the point ends up going into the net. So I do think that the numbers are what the numbers are. I don't think it's going to change. So when I talked about it in 2018, right, 18.56 was the highest a team had in the playoffs that year. That was San Jose. Then Vegas, 19.93. Vancouver, 20.8. Minnesota, 19.84. And as I said this year, Nashville with 22.45. But while Nashville's number is one of the highest on the board, Minnesota in 2016 had 22.53. It's been pretty consistent in the playoffs over the last, I'll say 5-6 years. And I just don't know if at some point a coach is going to say, blocking all of these shots, probably don't need to do it. Because again, it's heroic to see a guy block 5, 6, 7 shots in a game. But when that 6th shot breaks his ankle, or that 7th shot hits him right in the right spot in the foot and breaks a bone in the foot, well, now you've lost that defenseman for the rest of that game and probably for other games after that. And it might be weeks, right? And it's a similar argument I've had to the fact that players will take the ear covers out of their helmets, so puck catches them in the ear. They could be out for quite a while. I think eye protection's sometimes not what it should be in the National Hockey League either. I know that the helmet thing, guys get upset. They're like, this guy, had to go off the ice because his helmet came off. That doesn't seem right. And yet it was an epidemic. We had so many players who their helmet would just fly off and their chin strap barely on at all. And in a league where they should be taking concussions really seriously, making sure a guy's got his helmet on properly, that's the only way to really do it, is to make sure that there's some kind of penalty involved for your helmet coming off. The penalty being either you have to leave the ice, you have to take the time to put the helmet back on, or if you continue to play, you're going to go to the box. So I get it, and it feels like guys have been tightening up those chin straps a little bit more since then, right? I don't know how you discourage the amount of shot blocking we're seeing, though. Because, again, we play them up as heroes. I'm there. 4.5 years ago, I'm like, this is ridiculous. There's so many blocked shots. And now watching games, I'm like, man, that's so fearless. That's so awesome that they do that. And yet, it doesn't suppress the shot totals, which, again, means it's likely a lot of the shots they're blocking aren't going to hit the net. And because they're not diving to block the ones that are in close or diving to block the wraparounds nearly as much. And I mean, it's not really a dive then. You're just doing a slide to block it, or, doing your own version of a 2-pad stack in front of the goaltender. And so I do wonder if there's going to be a coach who has a lot of success over the next couple of years training his guys shot block in a smart fashion. So it's fine, shot block all you want, but make sure you're doing it at the right time. Make sure that this is the perfect time to be performing said shot block. So I'd be interested to know what other people think about this, because again, I looked at the comments on the video from January of 2018, and there were some that disagreed with me. There were some that agreed with me that it was an epidemic. There are ex-GMs that came out, almost a decade ago and said this is getting ridiculous, because they were thinking the same thing. They're blocking shots that aren't going anywhere near the net, and they're risking injury. They're risking the puck hitting him in the face. They're risking a broken leg. They're risking it hitting him in the back, and that hurts like hell. So that's where former GMs were. And, I mean, we can look at this and go, well, this is kind of what Tortorella built. On some level, yeah, but there's other coaches that were coaching shot blocking as well. Just it was a requirement of his. And, it didn't matter to him what team he was coaching. It was a requirement. Interestingly enough, Columbus isn't on the board. So while we talk about Tortorella with shot blocking, when his teams have made the playoffs, they haven't actually been top 3 in shot blocking. So it is definitely a league-wide thing now. I don't think you can change the league back to where shot blocking's not prominent. But, I don't know, again, it feels like if players picked and choose a little bit better, because we are seeing a lot of players get hurt. And that war of attrition in the playoffs, with the amount of block shot injuries we're seeing, it feels like it's becoming more and more of a thing than it used to be. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.